We're talking about sport in Africa, and football is a massive passion project in the continent. We bring to you AFCON, or the Africa Cup of Nations. It's underway and being hosted by the Ivory Coast. It's a continental football tournament that takes place once every 2 years, the odd years for the men's event and the even years for the women. It is one of the most important tournaments in the sport. Africa as a continent covers more miles than Europe. It is 3 times the size of Europe. So the football in quality and quantity is just as vast and varied. AFCON's initial plans was to be held in 2023 June and July, but the finals of the tournament were scheduled to take place during Ivory Coast's wettest months, and the FIFA World Cup in 2022 that took place in the months of November and December would be very close to it. So advancing it would have made it closer to the competition. Hence the date was shifted to this year. This is the 34th edition of AFCON. 24 teams are vying to become champions of Africa. All of them have been divided into 4 groups. The competition is currently in its group stage, where top 2 from each pool head to the final 16, then of course the knockouts and the final. It's Africa's biggest football festival and holds immense significance. Football's greatest athletes leave their club duties to travel out here and make it a success. Prominent footballers from past and present say even the question of club versus country when it comes to AFCON is showing disrespect to Africa, and this time AFCON is bigger. There's a 40% increase from last edition in the prize money, with the winners taking back $7 million. The investment is just as significant, with a total of $1 billion being pumped in to organize the tournament itself. And with several new broadcasting rights, global viewers from at least 180 countries, that's right, 180 countries around the world will be watching football in Africa. So who are the top contenders and the top stars that we can watch out for? Let's start with the host themselves, Ivory Coast, a 2-time AFCON champion. Ivory Coast, though, is looking for a lot of inspiration, as they last won this AFCON only in 2015. That's nearly a decade ago, and without key players in the ranks. Gone are the days when they boasted of special stars like Didier Drogba or Yaya Toure. They started the tournament, though, on a high, punching above their weight to notch up a win in the first game. And with reinforcements coming in, Ivory Coast in Borussia Dortmund striker Sebastian Haller and Brighton's Simon Adingra, the hosts are indeed hopeful to make this a bit of a successful run.
Already we were very relieved to have won the first match. There was enormous pressure. We had 7 players starting the match who were playing their first match in competition. Sebastian and Simon have resumed training. Their injuries are healing well. We've studied our adversaries, who have effective counter-attackers posing significant threats. Our focus will be on technical excellence, dominating the game, and executing our strategies effectively.
That's the host, of course. We have to speak about another contender in Morocco. The country made fans all over the world just by the way they played, with all of their heart at the FIFA World Cup in 2022 in Qatar. They are red-hot favourites this time. This North African nation became the first ever team from the continent to qualify for the semi-finals of a FIFA World Cup. And in the middle of their dream run has been their most endearing manager, Walid Regragui, whose big challenge will be to prove that Qatar was no fluke. In fact, the closest Morocco has come to winning AFCON has been in 2004 when they reached the final. The other big giant in AFCON, defending champions Senegal, and their dream of taking home their 8th AFCON title, rests on the hands of Sadio Mane. They trounced Gambia 3-0 in the first group match. None of the goals came from Sadio, though. If he fails to fire in the rest of the tournament, Senegal can kiss their title hopes goodbye. But players like Chelsea striker Nicholas Jackson, Edouard Mendy, and the formidable Kalidou Koulibaly should form the rock of this side. How can we speak of contenders and stars and not mention 7-time AFCON champions Egypt? I want to win the competition. Those are words that was Mo Salah's clear message about his ambitions at AFCON. They almost received a rude awakening at the hands of Mozambique. It would have been a major upset had the talismanic Mo Salah not come to their rescue. He converted a penalty deep into stoppage time to draw against Mozambique. Salah, after the match, in fact, said the weather in Africa is different, humidity is high, and the concentration drops. The best thing is that we learn early so we know our mistakes before the crucial rounds, like the quarterfinals or the round of 16s. And he's, of course, key to their campaign. Salah helped The Reds end a 30-year wait for a league title over in Europe and a 7th Champions League trophy. Despite his club success, Salah lives for AFCON and is desperate to create something special here. We'll round this off, of course, with some others who could have exciting campaigns like Nigeria, Ghana and Cameroon. For Nigeria, it's the depth in the squad, led by the African Footballer of the Year, Victor Osimhen. Ghana and Cameroon qualified for the World Cup in Qatar and hold a lot of fire and hunger to perform here as well. Andre Onana's return has created quite the stir and drawn attention back to the Cameroon camp. So a lot of exciting football coming your way and so many stars and interesting stories that can emerge. What makes AFCON enthralling is not just the quality of football. It's also because of the chaos and the uncertainty that always looms over this tournament, as it has in the past. Cameroon was meant to host it in 2019, but the Anglophone crisis led to the hosting rights being passed on to Egypt. Something similar happened in 2017 when it was staged in Gabon, rather than the original choice of Libya. Morocco was supposed to host it in 2015, but the Ebola virus pandemic saw it moved to Equatorial Guinea at the last minute. But what I'm trying to say is that despite all of this, organizers, broadcasters, footballers all clamor and strive to make this tournament happen. Choose this above the clubs and all the money, because passion comes first. It has given birth to stars who have made it big around the world. Whether it's Mo Salah for Liverpool, Morocco's Achraf Hakimi, who plays for PSG, or Victor Osimhen of Nigeria, who helped Serie side Napoli to a league title after 33 years just last year. AFCON is that symbol of hope that continues to fight for its place and relevance in football calendars and the sport world over.